All right. Well, my name is Mike. I'm the youth pastor here. If you weren't here last week, then maybe we haven't met yet. I did mention it last week, but in addition to being one of the youth pastors here at CFC and a teaching pastor, I also am a published author and I own a business. I own a small business creating youth ministry curriculum. I don't mention it that often from the stage because I like to be very cognizant and aware of all of the harm that pastors have done in American history when they leverage their spiritual authority for personal gain. And so I don't talk about it a lot from the stage, but if you are close to me, then you know that this is an extraordinarily large part of my heart and my passion is being an entrepreneur. And that's a journey that I've been on for a little while now. And so I want to cue it up and share just a little bit about this business called G-Shade. So it's a youth ministry curriculum that I've created along with some contractors. There are tons of youth pastors in North America who are phenomenally gifted relationally with students, but maybe teaching isn't their thing, or they haven't been theologically trained to do it, or they're a part-time or volunteer youth pastor and they don't have the time to create messages from scratch every single week. And so G-Shades is a youth ministry curriculum that helps youth pastors. They can purchase those resources and it helps them simplify gospel-centered youth ministry. And this is something that I've been doing for several years now. About 7 years ago, I launched G-Shades, and it is the absolute cry of my heart. It is, I love being a youth pastor here. I love it. But being an entrepreneur has been transformative for me in a way that even being a pastor has not been. Like it has done things in me and done things for me that I don't think anything else could have done in and for me. So it's been very cool. If you are an entrepreneur or if you've been down that kind of road before, then you know that it's really, really difficult, that it is a hard road, and you know that there's the vision, the big picture vision of the thing that you want to do, and then there are all of the little details that go into doing it. And so what this has looked like for me, what I wanted to do is create gospel-centered sermons for teenagers across North. That's all I wanted. I just wanted to sit in a dark room and just write. That's all I want to do. The rest of it, I don't really care about that much. I just want to write sermons for students across North America. But that's insane. That's silly because I own a business. And so there's all kinds of other resources that have to go into the product in order for it to be something helpful for the market. And so there's the sermons. I like that part, but I have to create small group questions, leader training resources, parent training resources. There's games that go into it, graphics, video messages, which I shoot and record and edit, and that's just the product. Then the product doesn't matter, as you know. The product can be as great as it, but if nobody knows it exists, who cares, right? And so then that's where we get in the digital marketing part of it, search engine optimization that I've had to learn about. How do we rank high on Google? How many blog posts a week do I have to crank out in order for us to rank higher on Google? So that's search engine optimization, digital marketing, social media. But then that's one part of it. But now, what happens if you market well, but people come to your website, but it's a hot mess? And so I've had to learn like website development and some basic coding and how to have a nice smooth UI funnel and people get through the funnel. And then that even goes beyond that, because now once they reach out and say, I'm kind of interested, if I can't sell, then we don't make any money. And so I have to actually I've had to learn how to sell a product to people, how to meet them where they are, recognize their needs, and then help them discover if this is a good fit for them. I've had to learn how to do so many things that I don't care about at all. I don't care about it at all. I just want to write sermons in a dark room and know that teenagers out there are growing in their faith in Jesus. But that's not the way that it works. You have the big picture vision, and then you know something I had to learn how to do recently? Pitch to investors. Like, this isn't Shark Tank. Like, anyways, okay, so there are so many things that you have to learn how to do, right, when you want to do, because basically here's what I'm saying. The devil's in the details, right? The devil is in the details, man. There's the big picture vision that you want to do, but there are so many little things that go into doing that well. And you know this already. You know this already because in order to become a government contractor, you had to learn a whole bunch of stuff in college that you don't use any of that now. Like none of it. It's all gone, but you had to learn it and you had to get good grade on it. And now, 15 years later, 20 years later, 30 years later, you don't remember it, you don't use it at all, but you had to learn it, right? In order to be a great teacher, I don't know if you ever thought about this, teachers, but I'm sure you have because you live it. In order to be a great teacher, you have to manage children's potty schedule. Like how frequently they can go to the bathroom during your class period. How is that your job? But in order to be a good teacher, that's part of your job. I bet you didn't care about that at all when you decided to be a teacher, but it's part of it. In order to be a good parent, you have to grow accustomed to sitting out every week, sitting outside of some building and learning how to be content with that, because the piano lessons that your child is doing are for some reason exactly 43 minutes long. And it's not enough time to go anywhere. You can't go home and come back. It's just such an awkward, so in order to be a good parent, you have to get used to spending 43 minutes at a time in a car, in a parking lot every week. How is that part? When you and your spouse were like, let's have a baby, this was not the thing that drove that. So anyways, my point is the devil is in the details. It's the thing that you want to do, and then there's so many little details that go into making that thing a reality. And that is true in business, and it's true in schooling, and it's true in parenting, and it's true in marriage, and it's also true in faith. Because if you've been around church for a while, you probably heard the pitch at some point, and it was such a simply packaged pitch. Repent from your sin, believe in Jesus, and you'll be saved. Oh, it's so simple, and it's not a wrong pitch. It's not incorrect. It's just if you've been walking with Jesus, you know it's so much more complicated than that, right? Like the pitch is accurate, that's true. But then in order to follow Jesus well, it is so much more than a one-time decision to repent and turn from your sin. There's so much more to it. So again, it's not that it's bad. It's just that anytime there is a big picture, in fact, that's why our church has really aligned around the 7 spiritual rhythms of Rooted. It's because it's trying to get this big thing called Christianity and bring it down into something that you can kind of work with, something that you can understand, something that's a little bit simpler. And so we've aligned around the 7 rhythms of Rooted for that reason. It's why we ask everyone in our congregation to go through Rooted so that we all have similar language for how we navigate this big complex thing called Christianity. And so there's the thing you want to do, and then there's the thing that the details will go into it. And the reason that I bring this up is because it's fascinating. If you've ever tried to do something, you had a big picture vision for something, and you tried to do it, this might be your life now. There's this thing that happens when the details are absolutely overwhelming, and you don't like the detail work and all that kind of stuff. It's fascinating, but it happens all the time in life, in children, in adolescents, and in grown adults. We become absolutely miserable doing exactly the thing we wanted to do. We become totally miserable getting everything you've always wanted, and you're miserable because there's the thing you want to do, and there's all the details that go into it. Your dream was to be married, and you are miserable in your marriage because the details of having a healthy marriage are so much weirder and more complex, and there's less control than you thought there was going to be. And so you have everything you always wanted, and you're still miserable. You always wanted to have that job, and you got it, and you're miserable because the details of it are so much more complicated and more overwhelming than you thought they were going to be. It's fascinating. You've always wanted X, Y, Z. You got that by God's sovereign grace, and you are miserable because of the details. So, if you are a dreamer, if you got things that you want to do, things you're trying to accomplish in life, You got a big picture vision for somewhere you want to go. God has planted some passion in your heart, and when you get to do the thing this big, whatever it is, you get to do that thing, you feel like you found your place in the world. Your heart beats a little bit faster when you're doing that thing. Whatever that is for you, I just want you to know that this message is for you, because the details are far more complex and difficult than we think they're going to be. And if that's not you yet, if you don't have that big picture vision for what you want your life to be, or something, what you want to do next, or whatever, you don't have that yet, this is still for you, because it's only a matter of time. And when the time comes, my hope is that you will not be miserable getting everything you've always wanted. And so hopefully what we talk about today is going to be helpful. So if you have a Bible, we are headed to Luke chapter, last week was Luke 9, so we're in Luke 10. We are in Luke chapter 10. If you were here last week, you know that last week we started a series called Sunday Lunch, Lessons from a Meal with Jesus. We are beginning a series where we're talking about different instances in Scripture where Jesus eats with people or eating happens, and discovering what lessons we can pick up from that. And so this is kind of week 2 of that series. And in last week, it's cool actually, because last week we were in Luke chapter 9, and the setting was enormous. It was this big open field with thousands of people. And the thing happened that we ended up talking about, right? Jesus feeding the 5,000 with the fish and the loaves and all that. We talked about that last week. I really like this week too, because whereas last week was this huge setting, this week is small. This week is intimate. It's this small gathering. It's just Jesus, his disciples, a couple of women in their home, and that's all it is. That's all it is. It's a small gathering. The reason that I like this is because I really believe this, and I think this goes against what we want as human beings, but man, when you get that big picture vision, the thing that you want to do, the thing that you feel God has called you to do in life, that usually happens not in the grandiose big scale, but it's the intimate moments. It's the little moment. It's in your room. It's in the car. It's in a conversation with someone one-on-one, and God puts the thing on your heart that he wants you to do next, that you want to do next. It's the small, intimate thing. Like for me, the moment that this gospel shades, G shades, faith paradigm kind of dawned on me, I was in my parents' guest room. My kids were napping in the room next door. It was just me and a Bible. And that was it. And like, I was just talking with God, and this kind of dawned on me, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is insane. This is so crazy. And I start going down the path, and 15 minutes later, I hear, wah! And I'm like, dang it. Right? But it's just small, intimate, normal, average, mundane, every day. And that's when these things happen. We want the Spirit of the Lord. We want that voice to be grandiose. If you're going to get your calling in life, right? If you want to frame it up that way, you're going to get your calling in life. You want it to be a non-lethal lightning strike from heaven. Like you live, but you have a story to tell. And that's what we want. But that's not all. I think that's not often how God's voice kind of interacts with us. It's in the small, in the mundane, in the intimate moments. And so I appreciate that whereas last week, grandiose scale, open field, thousands upon thousands of people, this week, we're actually just chilling in somebody's home. So let's jump into it. We are in Luke chapter 10, starting in verse 38. And here is what happened. As Jesus and the disciples continued on their way to Jerusalem, they came to a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. Okay, let me highlight a little bit who Martha is. A couple things I want to highlight. Number one, Martha was from Bethany. That was the village that Martha lived in. It was Bethany. And kind of fun fact, Martha was the brother, probably, I'm going to place her probably as the older brother of Lazarus, whom Jesus famously raised from the dead. And so this is Lazarus' older sister, Martha. And so that's really interesting. But the most interesting thing, I think, the most important, poignant thing for us today about Martha is that Martha was probably probably part of the Essene sect of Judaism. The Essene sect of Judaism. And so the Essenes, they were Jewish, they followed the Old Covenant law, but specifically, we have denominations today, right? The Essene, they kind of had their own denomination kind of thing going, and their thing, they had a huge focus on serving the poor. Serving the widows, the orphans, the poor, being generous, serving. That taking care of the poor and serving was their thing in the Essene sect. There's lots of stuff that matters in the Old Covenant, in Judaism, in the law. There's lots of stuff that matters. But the thing that mattered most to Martha was serving. She was a doer. And that's okay, right? Because that's kind of how it is. I mean, even at CFC, it's part of why I love CFC is we've got so many different, we all believe in Jesus, we follow the Lord, right? But there are different aspects of our faith that kind of stand out to each of us. I mean, my thing, I want to, and this feeds back into the G-Shades thing, right? Like, I just want to take people who are at least loosely familiar with Christianity, and I want to help them dive straight below the surface, straight to the heart of the gospel where transformation happens. That's what I want. But I want to start with people who are kind of familiar with the Jesus thing, at least pretty familiar with Christianity. Some of you could not give a rat's toot about discipleship. You don't care about that at all. You like where the unsaved people at? Where they at? Let me talk to them. Right? That's you. You go into Walmart. Let me give you an example. You go into Walmart, you collect a few things, you go straight to the aisle where there's somebody to talk to, a cashier, and you have a 10-minute conversation with the cashier, and the conversation ends with you sharing the gospel. I love you, but I think you're insane, okay? That's insane to me. I go to Walmart, I get my stuff, straight to self-checkout, okay? Straight to self-checkout. I look like an extrovert when I'm on stage. Don't be fooled. I'm an introvert. Straight to self-checkout. If the thing starts beeping and you need an associate to come help you out, I'm mad. I didn't want to talk to anybody, and now I have to say, help. I don't even want to say that. But some of you love evangelism. That's your thing, right? And I love that for you. I love that. But that's just evangelism. There's also folks who, hearing God's voice, that is kind of your particular passion point with your faith. That's awesome. Some of us servants like Martha, or we're really passionate about going out into the community, or really passionate about, giving, or really passionate about, whatever, right? There's all these different areas in which we're passionate about. That's part of why I love CFC is the diversity. It's awesome. It's awesome. Martha's passion, the thing that was of most importance to her, was serving the poor, maybe just serving in general. And that's part of why this scene plays out the way that it plays out. It gives context as to why this scene played out the way that it played out. We are in verse 39. Her sister Mary sat at the Lord's feet, listening to what he taught. But Martha was distracted by the big dinner she was preparing. Okay, so Lazarus was not Martha's only sibling. Martha also had a sister named Mary. And I'm just going to go ahead and theorize here. And if you have siblings, you go ahead and vouch for me. I'm going to theorize here that Mary was Martha's little sister. And so, and just to be clear, this is not Mary, the mother of Jesus, and this is not Mary Magdalene. This is another Mary, different Mary. And so Mary is sitting around, she's vibing, she's chilling. Martha decides to host a night with Jesus and the disciples. She is not hosting a night with Jesus and the disciples at her house. She is hosting a night with Jesus and the disciples at their house, her and her sister Mary. That's the setting. That's important. You know how complex that gets immediately if you have a little sibling. And so, Martha, the big picture vision, okay, we talked about vision at the beginning of the talk. The big picture vision, host a night with Jesus and the disciples. That's the vision, and I can't think of a cooler vision than that. I mean, God in human form hanging out at your house for an evening with the 12 men that he has chosen to change the world. I can't think of a cooler big picture when you back up from the details. You just go, that's what I want. It's like, yeah, that sounds dope. Let's do it. That's going to honor God. It's going to give like this passion for me. I can't wait to carry it out. But of course, the details are a lot more complex than that. We all know that. You know that if you've hosted something before. It's an amazing dream. And just to put it in, you don't even need this, but this is just for me. Just to kind of classify this real quick. When I was in high school, if you had told me that Kobe Bryant was coming to one of my high school basketball games, I'd have been locked in. All the details. Locked in, man. Somebody's getting dunked on. I was 5'5" in high school, but that doesn't matter. Somebody is getting dunked on because Kobe's here in the building. Absolutely locked in. But little sister Mary, she's not locked in. She's not locked in on the details. She out there in the living room, vibing with the men while dinner has to be made, chilling. Because the thing is, Martha understands what the entrepreneurs in the room understand, what the teachers in the room understand, what the parents in the room understand. You got the big picture vision, that's great, but to carry it out, the details matter. You ever had a boss? The details didn't seem to matter to the boss. They got a big vision. Vision is not the problem. They know where they want to go, but they haven't considered one iota what the realistic plan is to get there. You ever been to a church, pastor gets on stage, and it's clear he hadn't thought a single lick what he wants to say before he got up there? You ever been to a church like that? You ever seen a reel or a video on Facebook? I do. They come across my timeline all the time. Maybe because I'm a pastor, and it's funny. I'm like, ooh, you should have thought about that before you said that to a group of 150 people. Details matter, man. Details matter. And Martha's not locked in on that vision at all. And here's the worst part. Here's the worst part of this. Jesus just let it happen. The God of the universe, who at all times is holding together every intricate detail of the cosmos, weaving it together at all moments of every day, the most detail-oriented being that has ever or will ever exist, understands big picture vision and holding it together with the details, is in Martha's living room and letting this happen. Jesus, who you would think cares a good bit about injustice, who cares about fairness. You would think so. Who cares about the details, and he just lets this dynamic play out passively. And for Martha, again, you guys don't even need this much content, you get it, but I want to immerse us in this story, because to go back to her being part of that, if Martha was part of the Essene sect of Judaism, and Martha and Mary lived in the same house, then Mary was probably part of the Essene sect of Judaism. We serve here. That's what we do. We serve, we give, we sacrifice, we put food on the table, we think about the details, and yet this is where we're from, Mary. And yet, despite the fact that this is the part of our faith that matters most, and the object of our faith is in our living room, even in that scenario, little sis, you can't help me out? Even then? So, Martha does what any responsible, communicative adult would do in that situation. She tattles. So, verse 40, she came to Jesus and said, "Lord, doesn't it seem unfair to you that my sister just sits here while I do all the work? Tell her," she raised her voice and then she had to lower it again. She's like, "Sorry. Tell her, please, to come and help me." And we feel this, right? This is not an unreasonable request. It's not an unreasonable request. This is totally understandable. Mary's doing literally nothing right now. But the way that Jesus responds in a small, intimate moment would forever change transform the way that Martha thinks about vision and details and carrying all that out. I hope it'll be helpful for us too. Verse 41, the Lord said to her, "My dear Martha, you are worried and upset over all these details." And the reason I love the way Jesus frames this up is because Martha tries to frame this up to Jesus as being a logistical problem. Jesus, dinner has to be made and Mary's not helping. It's a logistical thing. Like, it would be great if she could have, and Jesus just cuts right through the fluff and gets straight to the heart of the matter. Martha, you are worried and you are upset. That's what's happening here. That's the thing that matters most. Martha wanted to make it about the details, and Jesus says, nah, you are worried and you are upset. Jesus told Martha in that moment, it's not, before I get to that, the thing that I really love about this is that Jesus did not deny the details. He didn't deny their existence. He didn't even downplay their importance. He just got to the heart of it. You are worried and upset. What Jesus does here is he says, Martha, it's not about the details. It's about how you approach them. And that's just good coaching. Oh, that's good. You pay top dollar for that kind of professional coaching, man. That is CEO 101 type stuff. It's not about the details. It's about your approach to them. I just think it's really interesting. People pay so much money for the kind of professional coaching they could find in the Bible for free. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that funny? If you're a professional coach, I'm not dogging you. Like, thank you for what you do, okay, first of all. I have a coach, okay? I have a business coach, and he comes to CFC, so I get it. Anyway, Jesus, he's spitting fire, but he's not done. Verse 42, there is only one thing worth being concerned about. Mary has discovered it, and it will not be taken away from her. So what Jesus does here is he reframes for Martha what the big picture vision actually is. Because her big picture vision was host a night with Jesus and the disciples. Host a night with Jesus and the disciples, that's the vision. But what ended up happening is that she's trying to carry out the vision. Martha got so locked in on all the little detail work that was required in order to make this big picture vision come to pass that host a night became the highlight, and with Jesus and the disciples faded into the background. And what Jesus does for her in this moment is he reframes for her the order of importance. That yes, this is the vision, but with Jesus and the disciples, that is the important part. And Mary understood that. Dinner has to be made. I can hear the type A red people in the audience right now, okay? I understand. Dinner has to be made. We gotta eat. We gotta eat. And in order for dinner to be made, people have to help. And I don't even disagree that, Mary probably should do a little bit of helping. I don't disagree with that at all. But when Martha got so worked up trying to prep this big dinner, fancy dinner, all the details, pulling out the stops, I'm going to do the best dinner that I've ever made, and it's going to be time consuming, and it's going to be stressful, and I'm not going to be able to spend any time with the people that I'm hosting at my house, but they are going to eat good. It's going to be great. You can feel it, right? We do this all the time. We've got the big picture vision, and the big picture vision has to do with Jesus, but then we get so focused on the details, trying to do the details for Jesus, that we forget about the Jesus that we're doing the thing for, right? This is me. This is you. This is me. I mean, I get so focused in and worried and anxious about the details of running the business sometimes that I forget how cool it is. I forget the cool stuff that God's doing in me and through the G-Shades curriculum. There are middle and high school students, like there are thousands of them, all across North America that are learning to see life through the lens of the gospel. And I forget that sometimes because expense reports have to be filled out, and contractors don't do their work on time, right? So there's so many details. I forget that, man. I forget that. Because of this G-Shades gospel lens faith paradigm, I am 10 times the father and husband and pastor that I was 8 years ago. I forget that sometimes. In my anxious moments, I forget that. What about you? What about you in your profession? What about you in your parenting? What about you in your friendships? What about you in your marriage? I just think we get so locked in on the details sometimes that we forget the reason we even got into the thing in the first place. Can I just encourage you? Can this message be nothing more than a simple devotional, just a little encouragement? That the thing that God has put on your heart to do, it matters. And for you to do it well matters. And for you to do it well requires a ton of detail work. But can I encourage you that the details don't matter more than doing it with the God who put the thing on your heart to begin with? Can I encourage you that you don't have to be a household name in the industry of your choice in order for you to be a success in God's eyes? Can I encourage you that even if you are not objectively in everybody out there's view, if you are not objectively the best in your field, if you are walking with the Lord, then you'll be right where he wants you to be in life? The details matter. Dinner has to be made. Someone's got to do it, and the person to do it is you. But please don't make dinner the main character. Please don't make the details the main character, because the details ain't the main character. God is the main character. Your relationship with Jesus is the main character. And Martha forgot that, and Mary didn't. I got to organize and file expenses. I got to follow up with contractors. I got to get the graphic design stuff done. I got to oversee, I got to do the video recording, and I got to edit it, and I got to, get the website going. I got to figure out why we're not ranking as high on Google as I want us to. I got to do all that stuff. I got to report back to my investors and let them know how things are going. I got to do all that stuff. Those details matter, but I have discovered that the healthiest version of Mike Haynes is the Mike Haynes who has the heart of Mary, even as I work like Martha. I want to encourage you to do the same thing. I want to encourage you to do the same thing. So, my question to you is, what does Jesus put on your heart to pursue? It's a new romantic relationship. Dope. Love it. Get it. You know what I mean? But man, in your quest to be the perfect partner or the best partner you can be, don't let trying to be the perfect partner overshadow like the God that you're learning with, growing with, right? The God who's changing you as in the process of being a good romantic partner. Are you pursuing a job opportunity? That's awesome. I love that for you. Do it to the best of your ability, but don't worry so much about the details, worry and fret and get upset about all that stuff. God, you want to change the world. I'm with you. I'm a change the world person. Some people don't need that. They don't want that. They want to live a quiet life. They want to be present with their people. And that's important. I love that. That's important. We need that diversity. If you're a change the world person, I'm with you. I'm a change the world person. Let me just invite us. Coming out of Luke 10, let me just invite us. Don't sacrifice yourself on the altar trying to change the world, because Jesus already did. So you don't have to. And I don't know how the details are going to come out. I don't know if the vision is going to be what you want it to be. I don't know if the dinner is going to end up being as grandiose as you initially envisioned it to be. You thought it was going to be the biggest, most impressive feast in the world, and maybe it's not meant to be that. But you will be better. Your life will be better. Your heart will be better when you spend less time chasing that and more time focusing on the with Jesus part of whatever God has called you to do. So I want to pray, and then we're going to invite you to respond through a worship song. And the prayer team is going to be up front. And if you want to come pray about something that God's been putting on your heart and you're struggling with the details, I invite you to do that. This is a great time to do it. The prayer team can help you work through that stuff. And if you just want to stay where you are and you just want to sing, and that's great too. But let me pray, and then we can respond. God, thank you so much for being a God who sees us. You love us in the midst of the thing you've called us to do. Lord, I pray that we would never forget that you are with us in the midst of the details of the big picture vision. Holy Spirit, we invite you into the space. It's in Jesus' name I pray.